Good. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. I really appreciate seeing all of your faces here. My name is Doreen Dunbar, and I'm here to tell you about why we're here this evening and maybe share a little personal experience about living here and growing up in the city of Virginia Beach. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of our brothers and sisters assembled here tonight. We're all a part of this Virginia Beach family, and we have a responsibility to look out for each other. So I consider all of us brothers and sisters. We're here to share with you tonight information about the 10-1 voting referendum that you're going to see on the ballot this November 4th. The city had previously used an at-large voting system, which was illegal. At-large means that no matter where you lived in the city of Virginia Beach, the entire city got to vote on who would represent you on city council. This allowed for big money with special interests to have an outsized influence on who wins city council races and who controls city council. It is difficult to hold your city council representative accountable when the whole city voted them in without them knowing the needs of your community. So that means that no matter where at large was illegal, it means that no matter where you lived in the city of Virginia Beach, the entire city got to vote for your city council representative. So that meant there were voters who were disenfranchised. But I was excited to learn about the 10-1 voting system, because with the 10-1 voting system, under 10-1, your representative must live in your district, and only the citizens living in your district may vote for your representative. And your representative knows your district and answers to the voter of that district. Currently, we have 10 equal districts in the city of Virginia Beach, 10 people sitting on city council, and then the mayor is voted at large. Each district has an advocate, and that's important because really the voters in Bayside don't know what the voters in Lynn Haven want for their community. The voters in Lynn Haven don't know what the people at the oceanfront want. People at oceanfront don't know what Thurgood wants. So it makes sense that we have equal access and a seat at the table. I'm in favor of voting yes on the referendum that you'll see on the ballot. It gives each person the basic entry-level opportunity to have influence and equal representation in our government. And so we are here because there are those who want to bamboozle you with misleading information about how we vote in Virginia Beach. I grew up here right on this street that runs behind the church, and it wasn't until the 1990s that we were able to get our street paved. The streets in this neighborhood, 3 streets that made up the Black community, dirt roads. And so that's what we want to make sure, that you can have somebody that is an advocate for you. So I would say that I want you to understand that at-large voting takes us backwards, and just want you to understand that if you will go along with me, that I will not look back, go back, get back, step back, or hang back. We won't sit down, go around, step down, or back down, nor will we shut up, get up, give up, let up, or put up with anything less than fair representation. So this is very important to me personally, and I hope after this evening you'll get your questions answered, and we will vote to retain 10-1. Thank you for coming this evening. The next person to come up and speak will be Eddie C. Eddie C. is the Political Action Committee Chairman for the Virginia Beach NAACP. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Doreen, for that welcome to District 8. You know, I have the honor tonight of introducing our moderator for tonight. That moderator is Bernita Richardson. Bernita is known across the city as the secretary of the NAACP, or the NAACP, and we are honored to have her with us tonight. Not only is she secretary of that organization, which I'm also a part of, she is also highly knowledgeable in healthcare. She's a physician's assistant, a PA, that's how most of us know her title, but she is a very knowledgeable person. I am honored to introduce Bernita tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eddie, for such kind words and that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Doreen, for welcoming us into your district. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to all of you all for coming out this evening. We appreciate you coming out to learn. So I'm just gonna give you a little history lesson, you know. So we all know that Virginia Beach is not that old of a city, and in 1965, there was this law that was put into place. It was called the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And so from 1965, here in the wonderful city of Virginia Beach, all the way up through 2020, we operated with an illegal voting system. So in 1994, there was a referendum on the ballot, and in that referendum, they asked us if we would like to have a more representative way of electing officers. And of course, the majority of the people voted yes. But some people felt like we didn't know what we were talking about when we voted that time. And so they went up to the General Assembly, told them, hey, let's not pass this just yet. They don't know what they really want, or they don't understand. And they put another referendum on the ballot here in Virginia Beach that said, would you like to have a election where you vote for just one special person? Or, I mean, the wording was so vague and confusing. I still don't know which answer I would have chosen had I not gone and looked into it further. So here we sat with this archaic voting system. Me, not having grown up here, I grew up in the booming metropolis of Emporia, Virginia. I know someone here has gotten a ticket. It's okay. But I was surprised when I moved here in 2000 that the voting system was set up as it was. And actually, I was so appalled that I moved my voter registration back to Emporia until my mom, who is very, very, very active in the political scene. And she said, you can't make changes if you're not voting and working where you live. And so I moved my voter registration back here after a couple of years. And now I'm working hard to make sure that our city has a more equal and legal voting system. So 2020 brings us up to our first panelist. She is a civil rights activist, a lifelong resident of Virginia Beach, and an overall great person, in my opinion. Her name is Georgia Allen. And she's going to bring us a little bit farther along this timeline. Miss Allen? It's coming.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Every time I come to one of these events, I hear one thing about what I'm supposed to talk about. And then when I listen to everything that everyone else has said, I'm like, I think I'm going to have to change what I was originally going to say. So I'm at that spot again tonight. So I'm going to talk to you about joining the lawsuit, because Benita kind of told you a little bit about 1994 and the referendum. I can speak to that a little bit because the citizens of Virginia Beach voted to change the election system all the way back to 1994. The General Assembly did not like that because they were very good friends with the people who served on City Council. And so City Council didn't like it, therefore the General Assembly didn't like it, members of the General Assembly for Virginia Beach. So they rewrote the referendum to confuse the public after they had said, I want to change the election system. And once they changed the wording, it confused the citizen and they turned around and voted against it. Do you think they asked, would you like to vote again? No, because the second time around, those in office got what they wanted. So that kind of brings me up to when I joined the lawsuit, because as I said, she shared part of the background. So in 2017, a young lady by the name of Natasha Holloway was having difficulty in the school system with her children. And so she went to the school board member to get assistance. And she couldn't get assistance. She went to her city council member to get assistance, and she could not get assistance. So she understood that she did not truly have representation. And based upon what Benita shared with you, it's because people in the whole entire city could vote on everybody's representation. So although she lived in a district called Bayside, she really didn't have representation because other people decided who would be the representative for the Bayside area. Fast forward to 2017, she filed a lawsuit against the city of Virginia Beach pro se. The federal judge said this is a legitimate lawsuit, and he took the lawsuit, and then in 2018, I joined the lawsuit as a co-plaintiff. And you say, well, why would you do that? The reason why I joined the lawsuit is because I also had a history of running for office, both from the state legislative level when I ran for House of Delegate, and also as city council when I ran for city council at large. So it was more or less proof to show that when people have a person that they prefer, if your votes are diluted, you won't get the person of your choice. So all the indicators, because the attorneys do look at that, all the indicators showed that if there wasn't a citywide election, then the chances are I would have probably won. So with that being said, I think I'm going to let you introduce the next person.
So as Ms. Georgia or Ms. Allen said, she joined the lawsuit, and that takes us to our next panelist, Ms. Susan Potter, who is a legalese of all.
Thank you. And I'm not real technical with the microphone, so if you can't hear me, let me know. I can also shout. The lawsuit was Holloway versus City of Virginia Beach. It was filed in 2017. It lasted 6+ years. I'm sure it felt longer to you. The judge went round and round and round, and I've looked at these pleadings, and I've just never seen anything like it, over the issues that you very clearly expressed and that somehow the city pretended not to understand. I've got a little attitude towards them, so forgive me. And eventually, when the city, he determined there was discrimination because the 731 with the 3 at-large and then the 7 also being at-large, the whole city is electing every member of city council. That means if you live in a community of color or other minority, and there's all kinds in Virginia Beach, we're a very diverse bunch, then the wider majority can nullify your vote. So if you think about it, if, we won't say who, but if a certain group had 50% of the population, they could control, theoretically, 100% of the city council seats and 100% of the school board seats with just 50% plus one person. And the numbers are a little different than that, but that's what it amounted to. And right now, we are at a point, the last estimate I saw in the court papers is that we are at 40.5 combined minority population. So you can see that if you are disenfranchising that large a section of our populace and not considering their needs, that's how you get the dirt roads. Mm-hmm. That's how you get the different treatment with schools and school buses and water, hooking up to sewage in an urban area. That was an issue when we moved here. That really shocked me. So the judge found that the 731 system, no brainer, diluted the minority vote. And he brought in a special master who drew up a plan. And the reason, and I want to mention this especially, that it was necessary for the special master to draw up a plan was because the parties were offered an opportunity to draw up a plan, and the city did not draw up a satisfactory plan. It submitted a plan that was still discriminatory. Special master submitted it, everybody got their giant pile of papers back in, and the judge adopted, with a few little modifications, that plan. And that is our 10-1 system that we have today. It was used because the lawsuit went up to the Fourth Circuit, came down, and was decided in July of 2022. It was first used through the court process in the November 2022 election. There was no court order. That caused all kinds of confusion that we're still grappling with. Lawsuit went on. Now we've got the 10-1 system. We get to August. I'll totally skip the survey. We get to August 15th, 2023, and through a huge process and a lot of public input, City Council passed an ordinance that adopted the 10-1 system. And they did that under threat of the judge imposing it and also imposing attorney's fees. So they got something in exchange for their agreement. And that ordinance passed by a vote of 10-1 with only Barbara Henley, my former strawberry farmer, voting no. So that should have been the end of the story. Now I better speed up the story because this is where it gets complicated. So here we come back and we use 10-1 legally and thoroughly, not just under a court order, but under a valid ordinance for the November 2024 election. And 3 of the people who were reelected voted for 10-1. That was on November, I don't remember the date, but that was on a Tuesday in November. The following Tuesday, in November 2024, they flip-flopped those 3 incumbent re-elected people and said, no, we're against 10-1, we want to look into 7-3-1. And this additional lawsuit was filed, I better hurry up. Yeah. This additional lawsuit was filed in circuit court that basically tried to invalidate the 10-1 system. And that's where we are right now.
Thank you so much. So what I heard you say is they lost control of seats. The 10-1 system helps with disenfranchisement, and I think you were talking about the fact that the 7-3-1 system or the other system is not legal according to state law or federal law?
That's right, and if you look at what Judge Jackson said, they actually proposed something. There's this so-called modified 7-3-1 system where you just have 3 at-large districts and you have to live in the district, and so it's like the 7 but a little bit different. And if you look closely at what the judge said, he considered that possibility and he rejected that too. So now that's what they want to claim, and the judge has already rejected it. And that case is back in front of Judge Jackson, who's the same judge that's already decided this issue.
So thank you. When I think of control of seats, I think about accountability. Our next panelist is Chief Fred Jordan, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about accountability. Yes, sir.
I'm also, I don't use microphones. I'd rather not speak to this thing, but anyway, I'm here to talk to you about accountability. And a lot of people already know what accountability is. At least we feel like we know. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how the Navy made me accountable and how I had to swab decks and shoot guns and stuff like that. I'm gonna tell you a story about a 10-year-old kid and his dad going hunting. And I went hunting with my father. I was 10 or 11 years old. It's cold, it's in November, there's snow on the ground, and we're hunting rabbits. We have 21 dogs in our arsenal, right? We only took 4 of them hunting with us that day. And my dad jumps a rabbit, which means he almost steps on the rabbit, and the rabbit takes off, and the rabbit takes off, and he calls the dogs. He had this sound. He called the dogs with, and they came up, and you had 3 dogs go this way, boop, 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 boop. And we had 1 dog, Ruth, go the wrong way, number 17. That was our number. He calls the dogs again. Jumps a rabbit. 3 dogs go one way, and Ruth goes the other way. The third time, he calls the dogs, and he goes, pow, and I hear the gun, and I go tromping through the woods. And I get over here, and I'm like, Dad, you get that rabbit? And he, locks eyes, looks right at me. He's like, shot that damn dog. And then he follows up with, I'm not going to feed a blank thing that won't do what I tell it to do. You understand what I'm telling you, boy? And I was like, yes, sir. That was the instant lesson of a 10-year-old kid on accountability. If I give you a job, if I teach you how to do it, then you should know how to do it. So, comes to an accountable person. An accountable person is someone that takes action takes ownership of their actions, decisions, accept responsibility for the outcomes, and being prepared to justify them to others. If you don't vote for someone, they're not going to give this to you. They're not going to justify to you why something is done. There's no reason to be accountable. The politicians should be accountable to the public. I hate microphones. Politicians should be accountable to the public who elected them, not special interest groups. They should report on any item that affects their constituents and provide pros and cons on their consideration, which means there should be some politicians here talking to us about this as well. Mm-hmm. The public has the responsibility of holding the politicians accountable for their actions and inactions. The public should provide clear guidance and expectations of goals to their elected officials. And the public should also demand written and verbal reports on the actions of politicians, accountable to them also on their successes as well as their failures.
So accountability is important in our 10-1 system because there are 10 separate districts that you elect in your district, and that is the person that you go to when you have an issue in your district. Or that is the school board member that you go to when you have a concern with the schools in your district. So accountability is really important and can be found in greater incidences in the 10-1 system where you have one direct representative representing you, your district, that lives in your district, so that they know the issues you're having in your district. So if which I live in District 4, which is near Wichita, I can't tell you the last time I was on Great Neck Road until today. I can't tell you the last time I was here, so I have no idea of what the citizens on Great Neck Road or Old Great Neck Road need, because this isn't an area I frequent. So what I like about the 10-1 system is that my representative lives not too far from where I live, and I can see them and I can go to them, and then when I tell them what it is I need, I can hold them accountable when that does not happen. I can call them and say, hey, we talked about we needed these potholes filled, or our area isn't as clean as it is on the ocean front. When are we going to have the city come and work in this area? Because I know who is my district or my councilwoman at this time, and I know who to go to. So that leads us to representation, and we have Riley, who is an educator and also the political action chair for the Virginia Beach Education Association.
Thank you. I guess I'm not very good with the mic either. So I'm here to talk about representation under the 10-1 system. As an educator, I spend most of my time during the week in a school, in a classroom with children, and unfortunately, my job is very, very politicized. It comes up in the news, it comes up on the TV, social media, and you might follow city council politics and school board politics. It's all local politics that you want to be informed about, that you want to participate in. And one of the benefits of 10-1 is that you get to have that direct representation. The bottom line is, under 10 districts, they're smaller than 7 districts. That's just the simple math of it. You have less people, so your vote counts for more. You are a bigger fraction in the deciding decision on who represents you on the school board and city council. As from an educator's perspective, schools are very different depending on what part of the city that you're in. A school in District 4 might have different needs than a school all the way on the ocean front or Cox by Shore Drive. They have different needs, they have different communities, they have different students, different employees, and even though we live in the same city, we have a very transient population. People come in, they do their job, they might work for the government, they might work for the military, or they might come to stay for the rest of their lives. But we are all very different, and that's one of the things that makes the city so awesome, quite frankly. And we want to make sure that our communities have ample representation from people that actually understand what they need. A school might need funding for a gifted program, or another school might need a new basketball court or a new sports bleachers or a track for their students to run around. They might need new computers in a different school. They might need microgreens for a biology project. If you have representation from your community that have children that go to those schools, that have family members that work in those schools, that just know people that go to schools. I don't think there's anyone in this room that doesn't have a connection to a school in this city. You know people in your community that go to these schools, and you want to make sure that they are being represented by people that know what they're talking about, that know what their community needs, and make sure that they get it. You want to make sure that your city council person, your school board person, make sure that your child's school, that your family's school gets the funding that they need, that it's not unfairly distributed amongst other schools that might be higher performing than another school in the district. You want to make sure that everybody, especially our students, have the same opportunity to succeed as everybody else. And when it comes to representation, under the 7-3 system, you have 3 at-large candidates, and that potentially allows for 4 people on city council to be from the exact same district. And we all like to think that everyone's got everyone's best interest in mind, and we try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But the bottom line is, when you run for an at-large seat, your race is a lot more expensive. You have to go across the entire city. You're not knocking on doors in your neighborhood, you're going all around town, and that adds up. It's expensive, and you have to fund it somehow. And even the best of us, who have the best hearts, the most honest guiding principles, if you got a truckload of money to get yourself elected, when those people that drop that truck of money off ask you for a favor, even if you are well-intentioned, you are going to feel the pressure to do what they ask. And that is one of the biggest issues with 7-3, is that you don't get fair representation. You might be from a district that has those 4 representatives, but if you're not, well, then you might be in trouble. And that is one of the reasons why representation under the 10-1 system is so important. Thank you.
Before you go, I have a question for you. You talked about fair representation. How does the 10-1 system help to ensure that ADA or those with disabilities or who are vulnerable are not losing their representative when they get to vote for their district representative and one at-large person versus the ability to vote for multiples? Can you talk about the dilution of the vote?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned before, under 10-1, the districts are smaller, and that means less people living in the same place, which means, again, your vote counts for more. Under 7-3, your vote is not only split amongst the members in your larger district, in the larger 7 districts, but also your vote is now counted against everybody in the city for those 3 at-large seats. And when you are talking about something like ADA compliance, for example, that is definitely something, and even children with disabilities as well in the school setting, we mentioned it before, it's a lot easier to get in touch with somebody when you know where they live, you know what community events they attend, you know where they are, and you see them. You might even see them in the grocery store. And if you have something so important like ADA compliance or students with special needs, and you want to make sure that they're getting what they need and what they deserve and what they frankly should have, you go to your representative. And under 10-1, your vote counted for more to get them across the finish line, and they truly are under your thumb. You voted for them, and they should represent you, and you will be able to more effectively make sure that happens.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions about signs and the lies that the signs tell. And there's a sign out there that says taxation without representation, but I really feel like what they would like is exploitation by poor representation. Can you speak to that, Ms. Potter?
Absolutely. You answer to the people who vote for you. And we had a system under 731 where the opposite was true. It was basically flipped around because every election was citywide, and that requires a lot of money. It requires or produced TV commercials, which are expensive. You never heard from your city council member. I had one in my neighborhood. That's the only reason I passed her every once in a while, going past her house. She was pretty good. But when you are in a district system, that representative is answerable to those voters. They come and they knock on your door. I've heard this story from many people who have never heard from a city council or school board candidate before. And as of 2022 and 2024, that changed. No taxation without representation. Who is it that's getting no representation here? The people who were disenfranchised because of the dilution of their vote in the communities of color. And that has been corrected or improved. And that has caused a backlash, which is what we're experiencing with the Linwood Branch lawsuit, and which is why this referendum is being put up, to try to go back to the old system. And I can't emphasize enough, I'm sorry, just one more second. The old system is not legal. So if people vote for it and somebody tries to implement it, it's going to go back to Judge Jackson. Judge Jackson is a federal judge. Federal law is supreme under the U.S. Constitution. He gets the final say, subject to appeal. So someone said this is a false choice, and I could not agree more with that, because we have a legal choice, which is 10-1, which also happens to solve a lot of earlier problems, and we have a system that is clearly illegal and will once again be declared illegal if this case has to be decided again by this poor judge who's had this case since 2017. How many times does he have to tell Virginia Beach the same thing?
Not just tell us, but each time we have to have these conversations, I believe it costs money. Ms. Allen, would you like to talk about the cost, the taxpayer cost?
Well, any lawsuit to any city is very expensive. Of course, initially, with the initial lawsuit, the city had to pay high-priced attorneys that they brought in from Washington, D.C. because they didn't have anybody to defend them here in the city of Virginia Beach that supposedly had the cred to defend them. However, we still won, so obviously even the high-priced attorneys from Washington, D.C., and the amount of money that the taxpayers paid for those attorneys wasn't enough. With regards to the lawsuit continuing, they're putting all of your tax dollars at risk one more time, because when it goes before the current judge, and based upon the fact that this referendum is a false referendum, then ultimately, not only would they have to pay their original attorneys and all of the subsequent lawsuits, but they would also have to pay our attorneys. Anybody interested in your tax dollars being spent
Not I.
for the cost of our attorneys? Because obviously, if our attorneys was able to beat the largest city in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we don't have shoddy attorneys, okay? We have really good attorneys. So I don't know if you guys want to see that bill, because it's not cheap. And with that being said, I think one of the things that is important, because a lot of people ask me, you know, why did you get in the fight? Why did you get in this particular fight? And I don't know how many people are familiar with Reverend Vernon Johns, but he had a movie out. And he said, and this is what pushed me to fight along with Latasha Holloway, is when you see a good fight, get in it. And because I love the citizens of Virginia Beach, because I love my community, when I saw a good fight, I got in it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have several questions about signs. They're coming. Also, whomever wrote that they're willing to volunteer, please make sure you see Eddie C. Eddie, stand up so they can see you. Anyone willing to volunteer, wanting to volunteer, wanting to purchase signs and have signs, please don't leave without letting someone know so that we can get that information to you. Are there other questions? I have 3 more here, but if there is another. So the question is, you mentioned federal law is supreme, Ms. Potter. How does that affect President Trump wanting to make an edict saying that we cannot vote by mail?
Well, not only do we have an edict saying, allegedly, you can't vote by mail, we also have a few people, a handful of whom live in Virginia Beach for the time being, who are trying to repeal the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I can't tell you how outrageous, I shouldn't have to tell you how outrageous this is, but let me describe it because you already know it. How was this Voting Rights Act passed? It was passed after Selma. People going over the bridge, marching for their voting rights. And they were attacked with dogs and hoses and police on horseback, beating them with clubs. And that's where John Lewis got his skull fractures. And we all watched it on TV. I did. I was 7 years old, and I will never forget it. And it shocked the nation. It shouldn't have shocked the nation, because it's a lot like the video we see today. This is the kind of stuff that goes on and went on for centuries. And guess what? Now it's in front of us. We can see it. And it so affected the conscience of the nation, finally, that Lyndon Johnson got the Voting Rights Act of 1965 passed, and it has caused the most comprehensive social change probably of any act. And there are people alive today who think that should be repealed, who think that's a bad thing. And the thing I want you to think about, because it's such a moral outrage, which is why you're getting this reaction from me, so if you cannot just understand that at a basic human level, shame on you. If you cannot understand that we obey the law, that we are a country of laws and not of men, shame on you, and that's nobody here. If all you care about is money, and that certainly describes a lot of the people behind this 731 push, then you're still affected, because let me tell you, the states that are trying that, abolishing the mail-in ballots, which is a state issue, not a federal issue, the states that are trying to repeal the Voting Rights Act, there's a Louisiana case that's coming up in October in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, God help us. Alabama, once again, home of Selma, home of the blood on the bridge, was one of the states that for about 4 years straight tried to violate, just ignored the orders of the U.S. Supreme Court. And Virginia Beach, money, money, money people, none of whom are here, is a mid-Atlantic tourist destination. Do we want the reputation of Alabama? Can we survive or thrive on the reputation that Louisiana is trying? Love parts of Louisiana, don't get me wrong, but that's the reputation they're going for. We have a better government than that. We are improving ourselves. 10-1 is a big part in this big city of that improvement, and we need to stand by it. And we need to stand by this judge who's been living with this lawsuit, and George Allen, who's been living with this lawsuit for years and years and years. So I think the result will be inevitable but difficult if the referendum goes the wrong way. Let's save everybody the trouble and get everybody you know to turn out and vote yes. Let's have an overwhelming response like we did to the survey that came out with 81% approving of 10-1. And if we do that, those lawsuits are going to go away. And we're going to improve. And hopefully these people will go on with their lives. I don't care whether they do or not, frankly. We get to go on with our lives. Georgia Allen gets to retire from this. That's my thought.
Never that. One of the questions is, what happens if the referendum doesn't pass? So what we're doing here is we're saying vote yes for 10-1, circle that yes, mark it in, whatever they ask you to do at the ballot, because we are going to win this referendum. And no, I don't even want to talk about what happens if we didn't, but although we are going to win the referendum, the federal judge has said it doesn't matter what the referendum says, because 10-1 is the most, it is legal, it is diverse, it holds representatives accountable, and it is the most representative form of election system here in for Virginia Beach. There's a question about who the current city council members are that are in favor of 10-1. And since we have 10-1, I'm gonna pass this question back to whoever wrote that question. Call your representative and see where they stand. Because when I run into them, I'm asking, are you for 10-1 or not? We have some of them who will come and speak with us. This is not our only town hall. This is the second of many. We have another one coming up on September the 9th. One on September 17th, 13th, 23rd, 25th. We're going to be all over. October 2nd, September 30th. So please be on the lookout for other town halls, and we will have some representatives from the city council come in and speak if they would like. At our last one, Councilman Hutchinson stated that he was for 10-1. The district rep for District 8 did not make it out tonight, and so we don't get the opportunity to ask them whether they're for or against 10-1. But in a representative system, you can call and ask. I know I asked my District 4 person, although she said it was between her and the ballot box, and I wasn't entitled to find out how she planned to represent me, which is interesting, as my representative. But in this system, I know who to go to and ask. And so not just the person that asked that question, but everyone in here, no matter what district you live in, check with your council person and see where they stand on this issue and tell them you stand for 10-1. All right, I'm stepping off the soapbox. That concludes the questions that we have received. I'm just going to give each panelist 1 minute and 15 seconds to kind of wrap it up, Riley, do you mind if I start with you this time?
That's absolutely fine.
Thank you.
So I will leave you guys with this. As an educator, I believe that public education opens doors for everyone. It's not something that has been around forever. Free and accessible public education is actually a relatively new thing. And even though it's a new thing, we have all taken it for granted. Everyone in here has grown up and attended public school or some sort of schooling, right? And we know how important it is to us, to our future, to our children, to our students. It is important, and it's important that public education and our students and our teachers get that fair representation. They have a city council member and a school board member that represents them where they live, where they work, and what they need and what their students need and what their community members need. And we will get that under 10-1. We can't go back. It's illegal. And we can only move forward. And that's what we should do. And we should vote yes for 10-1.
Thank you. One more time, accountability.
You cannot hold a representative accountable if he's not accountable to your individual district. There's just no way to do it. So for that reason, you should vote for the 10-1 process. Let it go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since we've had 10-1 from 2022 and 2024, you can look around and see that representation is improved. Whether or not you agree with one candidate or another, people can elect someone from their community. And that was not true before. 10-1 is legal, it's fair, it's equal. It's a system where elected leaders are held accountable to all of us, to all of our neighbors, and to all of our neighborhoods, and to all of our communities, citywide. So please vote yes on 10-1.
Okay. In conclusion, of course, I am for 10-1. And I want to close with one quote that actually I wrote myself. One group does not want the people to have a say. They want to tell the people what to say. And that is what those signs are all about. They don't want you to have a say. They don't want you to have representation. They want to be the representation for everybody. That's a problem because they keep saying that everything was wrong. Well, according to the Code of Virginia, 24.2-311, item number E, in the event of a conflict between the provisions of a decennial redistricting measure and the provisions of the charter of any locality, the provisions of the redistricting measure shall be deemed to override the charter.
Translation, it doesn't matter what they say.
So the referendum is really null and void, and so they're trying to confuse you. The 731 system is unconstitutional, therefore it is illegal. So the real vote is to vote 10-1, vote yes for 10-1, because the other position is illegal and unconstitutional. With that being said, thank you all so much for coming out tonight.
We would also like to thank New Hope for allowing us to utilize their facilities for this town hall. As I said, there will be others. Please go to the Vote Yes on 10-1 website. It will be listed there. You can check the NAACP's Facebook page and our website as well for upcoming dates. If you would like to volunteer, please see them in the back. Junior. Mr. Cox, on your phone. Can you come up, please? Yes. We just wanted to present this to you all, to Pastor. Pastor Keys? Okay. Somebody give me a name. Pastor Keys, we thank you so much for the work that you all do in the community and allowing us to come and bring this information to. So on behalf of the NAACP, we give you this certificate of appreciation for allowing us to have our District 8 Town Hall here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Eddie, take us home.
Thank you, Bernita. This has been a great evening. I know that all of us are going to take something home with us tonight as far as 10-1 is concerned and the knowledge that we've gained tonight. But what's the word? Vote yes on 10-1. Again, what's the word? Vote yes on 10-1. Again, vote yes on 10-1. That's the message I want you to take home with you tonight. There are a couple things going on. Certainly, Bernita mentioned other town halls that we have coming up. Please attend. The more knowledge you have, the more you can talk in your community about 10-1 and why we should support it. There is a survey that you were told about as you registered tonight. That community survey is very, very important, not only to the NAACP, but helping us understand what the needs are in this city. And the reason that we're doing this at this time is it gives us an opportunity to be all across the city, finding out information that's very important to us as we move forward. So please, if you didn't do that survey yet, stop by the table out there as you leave and scan this, and please answer this survey. It's very, very important. The other thing that we're going to ask you to do tonight is to let us know, and again, stop by the table, let us know if you want flyers or it can volunteer. We have flyers available for all of you to pass out as you talk to people. You know, we talked about signs tonight. This is a grassroots campaign. We don't have the monies that other groups have maybe, but we have you. And we need you to take flyers wherever you go and pepper this community with Vote Yes 10-1. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate the Virginia Beach Education Association, the Vote Yes on 10-1 Coalition referendum, and the Virginia Beach NAACP. Thank you so much.
A special thanks to our partners this evening. If anyone is here from the Vote Yes 10-1 Coalition, if you'd like to raise your hand, please do so now. Keep your hand raised. If you are here with the VBEA, please keep your hands raised. If you are here with Alpha Phi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, please raise your hands. Thank you all for your participation tonight. We appreciate you, and we'll see you all at our next event. Thank you.